Hello friends, I am Shelly Clough and today I'm going to walk you through another really simple little landscape that you can try. We're going to be learning how to make a really pretty sky in this one and laying down a little bit of a mountainscape. So let's go ahead and dive in and I'll walk you through the supplies that we're using today. So for paper today, I just have a piece of Canson XL watercolor paper. I took a 9x12 sheet and cut it into fourths. So this is just like 4.5 by 6 inches. I have my starter palette, which is Winsor & Newton colors. This is all linked below. I have a swatch card to tell you what colors I'm using. I also sell this exact palette. If you want to just have exactly what I'm using here, you can get that from me on my website. For a brush, I've got a Princeton Neptune size 6, and then I just have some tape that I use to tape this down. Everything I use today will be linked below. So what I want to do today is just show you another really basic landscape that you can do as you are getting used to watercolor. And I'm going to start by mixing up a color for my sky. So one of my favorite things to do for a sky is to mix up a nice rich blue. So I'm going to use Prussian blue and also a little bit of ultramarine blue. And then what I like to do for my sky is just add in a pinch of a kind of yellowish tone. I'm going to go in with a little bit of cadmium yellow. Now it seems funny, but just that little hint of yellow does something to sort of tone down the intensity of the sky so that it's not quite, doesn't look quite as saturated and artificial. So here's about what I'm working with right now. And then before I start painting, I actually want to pre-wet my paper. I am just going to grab, this is a Princeton Neptune 1-inch flat brush. Just makes it kind of quick and easy to wet my paper. So I'm just going to take that. It looks like there might be a little pink left in that. So I'm just going to take that and sort of wet my paper down where my sky is going to go. Okay, and this is just going to help my colors to move around a little bit better. So I'm going to grab some of that blue and I'm going to start up here. And what I want to do is I'm going to add some dimension sort of up and down and side to side. So I'm going to have it a little darker on one side than the other, just dropping a little extra pigment in here. So it's nice and rich on this side. And then I'm going to water that color down a little bit on this side. And you can see with my brush, I'm sort of using these swirling motions. And I find that that helps to get some really nice cloud shapes. So I'm going to try to leave some chunks of white out. And I find clouds are nice. Don't think of like a puffy little cotton ball shape. You kind of want like a bulk of a shape and then some little bits sort of coming off of that. And then I'm going to kind of come underneath that, leaving little chunks of white out here and there that are going to be kind of my cloud shape. So these cloud shapes are going to be, it's kind of like a white blob with some little bits coming off of it. It just helps it look a little more natural. I'm just making sure that this is staying wet down here. And then I'm letting my color diffuse a little bit as I get to the bottom. And for this painting, I want it to be mostly sky. I love a lot of sky in my paintings. And so I am bringing that sky down pretty low to the ground. And when it comes down, I just want to make sure it's significantly lighter at the bottom than it is at the top. And sometimes I'll add little bits of color in there to help pull out those shapes. I'm just going to add a little bit more cadmium yellow here and drop some of that in throughout this painting. And then I'm going to make sure while things are still kind of wet, I'll often come back through and reinforce that blue color up on top. So I'm going to sort of reinforce that a little bit and just move that around with a clean wet brush. Adding some little bits of color here and there. And then you can lift with a clean wet brush if you feel like somewhere is a little maybe too intense or something like that. And sometimes I like using a high quality paper So Canson paper is really excellent value paper. So it is, a lower price point, and if you are a professional artist, you're probably not using Canson paper, but it's excellent as a value paper. But sometimes, because it's not quite as absorbent as a more expensive paper, I actually like what happens in the sky a little bit more. So I'm just going to show you a quick example here of a couple of landscapes. This paper is Blick Premier paper, which is pretty similar to Arches. And you can see this loose sky. It's a lot smoother, but to a certain extent that almost makes it less interesting. This was done on Canson paper, and there's a lot more blooms and things like that happening. Some people don't like that, but I think it kind of adds some fun dimension and visual interest. So these are both really nice. It just depends on what you like and how you like your art to go. So I kind of wanted to get more of this sort of sky happening in today's painting, which is why I went with the Canson paper. So you can see as it's drying, we've kind of got some fun layers that are happening. I do feel like I want my cloud here to show up a little better. So what I'm going to do is take a wet brush and scrub a little bit at this area. I just want my cloud to not feel so centered on the painting. So I'm just scrubbing a little bit to wet that area, and then I'm going to take this scrunched up little corner of paper towel and just dab at that, kind of trying to do it a little haphazardly so it feels more organic. So I'm going to do that again, kind of lengthen this part out a little bit. And then we're just going to dab. Okay, I feel a little better about that. And then I feel like skies is kind of a pushing and pulling exercise. So I'm just going to dab a little bit of extra color along some of those edges that we just created to make sure that we still have some nice shapes happening. Okay, and then I'm going to do a little bit more down here as well, just to make sure we have some balance. So just kind of scrubbing and dabbing. And there's some fun clouds that we've got going on. Oh, I just dribbled. Okay, now I'm going to let this dry completely, and then we're going to go in with some mountainscape down here at the bottom. Okay, so down here at the base, it's totally dry now, and what I'm going to do is create a nice little mountain scene. And so I want to do that with like a dark blue color. So I'm going in with indigo, and I am going to add a little bit of burnt umber to that to make it feel a little more natural. Maybe a little bit of Prussian blue to kind of brighten it up. I want it to be a little darker than my sky, but not too concentrated. Going in with more Prussian blue here. A little bit more burnt umber, just sort of playing till we've got like a muted blue that's a little deep. And I'm going to come paint a little mountain range in here. I'm just going to come up and down, making these, these are like flat chunks that I'm making. They're not super pointy. Okay, and then I'm going to fill that in. And then while that is still wet, I'm going to go ahead and add some dimension. I've got just indigo here. I'm going to come and add some of that on sort of the left side of some of these points that created, and kind of trickling it down. Those are like the little crevices in a mountain that are sort of coming down. And then I'm going to add some cadmium to that and have things get just a little bit green down here at the bottom, letting these colors sort of blend in fun ways. A little bit of green over here. Okay, now I'm going to let that dry, and then we're going to decide if we need any more detail on that or if we're feeling good about it like this. Okay, so now this is dry and we've got some really fun texture that has happened in here. What I'm going to do is add just a little bit more detail with one more layer. So I've switched to a smaller brush. This is just a size 4 Da Vinci brush. And I want to mix a really nice dark kind of bluish green. So I'm going to do indigo with some burnt umber and just make sure there's a little bit on my brush. See, I'm like swiping that off on kind of a clean spot to make sure that I don't have a bunch of liquid there because I want to be really precise. And I'm just going to come and sort of mimic some of those same areas that I dropped color on before. So sort of on like, if each one of these peaks is a little mountain, we're doing it on the left side of those. Okay, and then I'm going to do just a little bit down here, maybe like little dots or something, kind of representing greenery, bushes. Nothing too crazy. Okay, and we'll let that dry and then take our tape off and see what we think. All right, here we are. This is our final little quick and easy watercolor mountainscape. Hopefully you had some fun learning about how to create a sky in some of these sort of mountainous shapes. Really simple little beginner tutorial. I would love to see what you created. You can tag me. All my socials are linked below, and I also have a Facebook group. I always love to see what you guys are painting. But thank you so much for being here. Subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this, and we will see you in the next video. Thanks so much for watching.